Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. I'm your instructor Joy. Let me first play a tune for you. This was beginning of musical moment number 3 or moment musical by Schubert. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for your continued support here also on my Patreon page and booking lessons with me, supporting me here also on my Patreon and with the kind emails, volunteering with your time. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry it's taking longer to get back to you. I'll do my best to reply to you as soon as I can. So this video is an answer to a subscriber. This finalist was wondering how one could time the grace note. So grace note is one of those, this tiny note, a much smaller note than regular sized note or regular note, and all of a sudden you see this teeny tiny note either right in front of the main note or right after. It can be 1, 2 or multiple. In this case, I had a note B, and note A. The main note was, but I had this B as a grace note. Next one, I had a note C sharp as a main note. So without grace note, it would have been 1 and 2, 1. But I have 2 grace notes right in front, which is A and B. So with a grace note, 1 and 2, and on like that. So those are the ones. I'm sure you've seen it. How does timing? The biggest, simplest question is, do we play the grace note with the beat, or before the beat, or after? Very good question. Generally speaking, it's up to the player and the conductor, but there's of course kind of a common way that we all do, so which I'm going to show you. Overly generalizing, the grace note should be, so let's say the main note should be with a beat. Let's say you have a main note and then you have a grace note in front. Then the grace note will be played right before the beat so that the main note can be in the beat. But let's say you have a grace note after the main note, then the grace note comes after the beat. Long story short, grace note should fit in that does not interfere with the main note musical rhythm. So here, again, with that grace note, this Schubert piece, it starts like, it has a time signature of 2, 4. If I count it, 1 and 2, and like this. So 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and that would have been without grace note. Now I will squeeze grace note in, and you will hear it. I'll count extra measure, 1 and 2 and 1 again, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and of course I'm doing extra slow so that you hear it. But long story short, whether it's a trill, grace note, mordents, any kind of ornament, it's an ornament. It should fit in with the musical rhythmic structure. So we have 2 beats in a measure. Whether you have ornamental grace notes or any other type, it should not be more than 2 beats within the measure. One could fit in the grace notes within the measure or right after, whatever it is. Each measure must stay with a given time. In this case, 2 beats in a measure. Of course, there are exceptions, and then as long as it makes musically sense, you can do that. When it comes to Bach music, because he has a harmony that's a little prolonged from the previous measure, and sometimes you see the grace note being overly emphasized and played with a beat like. Another example would be Mozart. Another one. He actually wrote a grace note, but same reason, because of the harmony, we tend to emphasize those grace notes and playing with a beat. Those are more era of Baroque and classical era, you have those examples. Here, this E is a grace note, but we play with a note. Here also, this is a grace note, but we play with a note, with a beat. On and on like that. But long story short, without those small, well, I shouldn't say it, there are exceptions like that. You play grace note with a beat, but still, even with grace note, you should fit within the given time. If it's a 4 beats in a measure, you should stay within 4 beats in a measure with a grace note in it. That's same regardless of whether you play grace note with the beat or before or after the beat. Yeah. But if you want to generally understand, and generally also in the orchestra, unless the conductors request otherwise, if you play the main note with the beat, if it's a grace note is right in front of the main note, play right in before the beat. If the grace note is right after the main note, play right after the beat. As long as you fit within the given rhythm, you should be on the correct path. I hope this gave you some ideas. I wish you all happy practicing and hope to see you again. Bye bye.